Section 9 shows the choreography, restrictions, injections, optics, mirrored against the 5G towers that rose around us. And Section 10 names the sequence outright. Every G rollout shadowed by a virus story. 1G with flu, 2G with HIV, 3G with SARS, 4G with swine flu, and 5G with corona. The rhythm is undeniable. Upgrade and outbreak, lockstep and simultaneous. This is the sovereign signal. Wake TF up. 9. Interpretation simultaneity as a lever of control correlation is not causation, but simultaneity is a lever. When crisis management and network transformation escalate together, the public experiences a fused reality. Emergency measures on one side, infrastructure milestones on the other, both arriving in the same news cycles, press conferences, dashboards, and street-level changes. That fusion compresses complexity into a single story. We are in danger, and modernization is the answer, which reshapes how people judge risk, accept speed, and surrender to liberation. The point is not to claim one line produces the other. The point is to name how two lines moving in parallel dictate behavior. Simultaneity is the instrument that makes resistance feel unreasonable and acceleration feel inevitable. Tempo. Calendars engineered for momentum. Crisis tempo. Beats, waves, peaks, decrees, advisories, reopening phases. Rhythm. Announce urgency, impose rules, adjust, repeat. Transformation tempo. Beats, auctions, permits, launches, coverage claims, strategy releases. Rhythm. Announce milestones, deploy hardware, expand services, repeat. Coupled cadence. Pattern. Announce plus restrict plus upgrade plus reassure in synchronized cycles. Tempo governs consent. When decisions are stacked and compressed, scrutiny weakens. The calendar becomes policy. Fast tracks open, exceptions normalize, long-term commitments lock in while attention is narrowed. A population living inside rolling waves will not parse spectrum allocations, siting density, or procurement terms with the same rigor as in calm periods. That asymmetry is not accidental, it is operational. Tempo translates urgency into momentum, and momentum into permanence. Optics, necessity, inevitability, and manufactured consent, optics of necessity. Frames, resilience, continuity, digital backbone, protect essential services. Effect. Acceleration becomes moral duty, delay becomes negligence. Optics of inevitability. Frames, future-proof, global competitiveness, don't fall behind. Effect. Debate collapses into a binary, upgrade or regress. Optics of consent. Instruments, dashboards, apps, national addresses, branded strategies, recovery plans. Effect. Participation is performed through clicks and compliance while choices are pre-decided. Optics are operational, not decorative. They shape what is seen and when it is seen, aligning transformations with moments of heightened fear or relief. Charts and slogans become the canvas where legitimacy is painted. The public processes complexity through symbols, and if those symbols are synchronized with crisis beats, opposition is reframed as irresponsibility. That is how optics becomes policy muscle, a narrative that eliminates alternatives. How simultaneity conditions obedience. Flood the attention window. Mechanism. Peak stress narrows focus. Simultaneous transformation messaging saturates bandwidth. Outcome. Less capacity to interrogate the speed, cost, or trade-offs of upgrades. Bind identity to modernization. Mechanism. Tie national pride, innovation, and sovereignty to the infrastructure push. Outcome. Resistance is cast as backwardness or disloyalty. Moralize acceleration. Mechanism. Elevate speed as care for the vulnerable. Paint delay as harm. Outcome. Process safeguards look like obstacles, not protections. Normalize exceptionalism. Mechanism. Emergency procedures become precedents for procurement, siting, and regulation. Outcome: temporary fast tracks outlive the crisis. Conditioned obedience here is not brute force. It is the constriction of conceivable tempos. If the visible choices are crisis plus transformation or crisis plus collapse, consent is foregone. The choreography turns opposition into an absurdity. The artifact: a ledger of timing, framing, and thresholds. Timing: data. Date, stamped waves, decrees, reopenings. Date-stamped auctions, launches, coverage thresholds. Use: show synchronization without implying causation. Framing: data. Exact language used in speeches, strategy papers, campaigns. Use: demonstrate the semantic bridge from fear to modernization. Thresholds: data. Document where rules change, expedited permits, emergency procurement, consolidated approvals. Use: track how exceptions became norms. The artifact is designed for replication and audit. Sequence replaces speculation. Rhythm replaces rumor. By laying beats side by side, the ledger makes clear how why was sold through when and how. It gives a population back its timeline, and with it, the ability to judge consent. Mechanisms of control embedded in tempo and optics. Calendar coupling. Action: internal coordination between ministries, regulators, and industry to align announcements. Impact: policy beats and deployment beats land together, amplifying legitimacy. Narrative bundling. Action: crisis language and transformation language share stages and spokespeople. Impact: two separate agendas are perceived as one coherent solution. Procurement glide paths. Action: emergency atmospheres ease scrutiny on long-term contracts and standards. Impact: commitments outlast the moment, locking in direction. Visibility management. Action: hardware appears where streets are quiet and eyes are distracted. Press runs in crisis cycles. Impact: material change proceeds with minimal friction. Semantic shielding. Action: wrap contested moves in universally agreeable aims. Safety, efficiency, inclusion. Impact: critique is reframed as opposition to basic goods. None of these mechanisms require conspiracy. They require competence at coordination. Power prefers rhythm to confrontation. Rhythm wins quietly. The lived effect: why simultaneity matters, even without causation. Cognitive load. Effect: heightened stress increases reliance on authority signals and default trust in official narratives. Attention asymmetry. Effect: crisis consumes evaluative bandwidth. Transformation rides as the solution without equal interrogation. Policy elasticity. Effect: rules stretch. Temporary exceptions harden into permanent practices. Memory compression. Effect: recollection collapses the sequence into "it all happened at once," becoming post hoc justification for permanence. Simultaneity changes outcomes because humans do not process separate lines under duress. They experience a single story. That story, once internalized, becomes the map for future acceptance. Discipline. Fire without overreach. Name the beats. Task. Dates, decisions, deployments. No gaps. No padding. Quote the frames. Task. Use the exact wording that sold acceleration. Don't paraphrase away the edge. Mark the thresholds. Task. Identify the moments where process was shortened or bypassed. Show the mapping. Task. Lay crisis beats beside transformation beats. Let timing speak. Refuse overclaim. Task. State choreography, not causation. Precision is the weapon. Discipline gives fire its teeth. If every sentence can be audited, the narrative becomes precedent, not posture. Counter pattern. How to break the choreography. Decouple calendars. Action. Require infrastructure decisions to undergo public deliberation outside emergency cycles. Result: tempo slows, scrutiny returns. Publish thresholds and trade-offs. Action: make cost-benefit math, citing density impacts and long-term obligations explicit. Result: optics lose their monopoly. Substance competes. Restore local veto points. Action: give communities binding authority over placement, timing, and conditions. Result: rhythm meets friction. Consent becomes tangible. Separate health comes from transformation PR. Action: distinct channels, distinct spokespeople, distinct calendars. Result: bundling breaks. Narratives stand or fall on their own merits. A counter pattern is not protest alone. It is architectural. It rebuilds process where rhythm has dissolved it. Closing clarity. Tempo is the tactic. Optics are the armor. Correlation does not equal causation. Hold that line. But do not let it launder the obvious. Simultaneity changes human response. When crisis escalates and transformation escalates together, the capacity to evaluate, contest, and redirect shrinks. The artifact is about power expressed through calendars and screens, how synchronized beats generate compliance without overt force. Optics are the armor that frames acceleration as virtue and resistance as vice. The result is obedience manufactured by rhythm and image. Name the pattern. Show the sequence. Teach the rhythm. Once the choreography is visible, consent returns to human hands, and speed has to earn its legitimacy in daylight, not under the cover of synchronized urgency. 10. Citizen audit. Generational overlay from 1G to 5G and the choreography of crisis and transformation. Purpose and stance. This is a disciplined, copyable artifact for citizen audit that weaves the historical rollout of mobile generations, 1G, 5G, with the concurrent rise of epidemics and pandemics. We do not claim causation. We document simultaneity and show how tempo calendars and optics, language and visuals, condition perception, shrink scrutiny, and accelerate acceptance. Your job is to build local ledger's dates, headlines, hospital status, funerals, deployments, and teach others how to do the same. The generational timeline and what was sold 1G, late 1970s, 1980s, sales rhetoric, liberation and status cordless mobility, call from anywhere, business leadership. Infrastructure, analog cellular networks, early mast sighting in urban cores and transport corridors. Health backdrop, HIV/AIDS emerges globally in the early 1980s. Public health systems confront stigma, uncertainty, and mortality. Simultaneity, freedom through mobility rose alongside fear through contagion. Phones symbolized modernity, while news cycles taught restriction. The social reading, modern world advancing under a shadow. 2G, early mid-1990s. Sales rhetoric, clarity and security digital voice. SMS, better signal integrity, wider coverage. Infrastructure, denser networks. SMS becomes mainstream. CROSS border roaming normalizes. Health backdrop, tuberculosis resurgence, new influenza strains, localized Ebola outbreaks. Simultaneity, secure communication marketing ran beside insecure health headlines. Texting framed resilience and connection as outbreaks punctuated the calendar. 3G, early 2000s. Sales rhetoric, access and global connectivity, mobile internet, video calling, data services, borderless collaboration. Infrastructure, investment surges, urban data nodes. Spectrum auctions reset market structures. Health backdrop, SARS, 2002 to 2003, signaled global contagion risk and border anxieties. Simultaneity, borderless networks and borderless disease shared the news cycle. Connect to the world met contain the world, conditioning obedience to upgrades packaged as social lifelines. 4G, late 2000s, 2010s. Sales rhetoric, speed and app streaming, mobile commerce, cloud services, on-demand everything. Infrastructure, LTE densification, small cells in streets. Smartphones fuse network and daily life. Health backdrop, H1N1, 2009, becomes global. Ebola, 2014-2016, saturates media. Zika later adds anxiety. Simultaneity, faster is better, stood beside faster spread is dangerous. Apps were sold as lifelines while hospitals faced waves. The optic, speed as resilience under the pressure of uncertainty. 5G, 2019 present, sales rhetoric, transformation and inevitability smart cities, autonomous systems, industrial automation, telemedicine, future proof. Infrastructure, standalone cores, massive MIMO, urban densification, private campus networks, towers and nodes visible in daily life. Health backdrop, COVID-19 global pandemic with peaks, lockdowns, dashboards, funerals under restrictions. Simultaneity, transform now rose with restrict now. Telemedicine, remote work, and digital schooling were proof points. The choreography, announce crisis, announce upgrade, compress process, call it resilience. This sequence demonstrates a structural habit. Each G is marketed with a promise, liberation, clarity, connectivity, speed, transformation. While a concurrent health emergency frames urgency, we do not assert cause. We document the overlay and how it shapes consent. The mechanism, tempo and optics. Tempo, calendar engineering. Crisis beats, waves, peaks, decrees, reopenings, vaccine phases, dashboards. Transformation beats, auctions, permits, launches, coverage claims, strategy releases, stimulus digital pillars. Coupling, announce plus restrict, plus upgrade plus reassure, repeated in synchronized cycles. Effect, stacked decisions move past ordinary safeguards. Attention narrowed by crisis cannot track technical and procurement detail at speed. Optics, theater of inevitability. Frames of necessity. Resilience, continuity. Protect essential services. Frames of inevitability. Future proof. Global competitiveness. Don't fall behind. Consent instruments. Dashboards. Public addresses. Apps. Branded strategies. Coverage maps. Effect. Acceleration becomes moral duty. Delay becomes negligence. Opposition is recoded as backwardness. Tempo turns urgency into momentum. Optics turn momentum into legitimacy. Neither requires force when rhythm and visuals do the work. Citizen audit. Build ledgers that stand up to scrutiny. Define the unit of analysis. Your city, borough, county, or district. Keep boundaries clear to avoid cross-jurisdictional noise. Collect infrastructure beats, planning and permits, council minutes, approvals, siting maps, activation notices, operator materials, press releases, coverage maps by date, marketing campaigns naming specific neighborhoods. Physical observation. Document when rooftops changed, street furniture appeared, small cells were installed, photos with timestamps. Collect crisis beats, mortality, case data, national dashboards, local health authority weekly reports. Hospital status, bed occupancy reports, staff advisories, public statements. Funerals and public rituals, restrictions on gatherings, funeral limits, religious service guidance. Media narratives, headlines, taglines, language used to frame resilience and urgency in the same weeks. Align the beats, columns, date, mast, tower event, hospital status, media narrative, funeral, gathering conditions. Annotations, exact quotes with sources, screenshots, archive links. Markers, Peaks, troughs, and death curves matched with deployment events. Note proximity, not causation. Quality checks, consistency, standardized time units, daily, weekly, and sources, transparency. Record how you obtained each datum. Keep copies. Replication. Provide a short how to replicate note so others can repeat the audit elsewhere. Your ledger becomes a precedent. Verifiable, local, repeatable. It converts lived experience into evidence. Working in the generational frame locally, map what was sold for each G in your area. 1G. Ads and articles about mobility and business leadership. 2G. Promises of secure, clear communication and SMS utility. 3G. The mobile internet revolution access everywhere. 4G. Streaming, commerce, app ecosystem speed as life. 5G. Smart city, telemedicine, industrial efficiency transformation as destiny. Pair sales frames to crisis frames by date. Example pairing labels. Liberation versus new stigma. 1G HIV. Clarity versus insecurity. 2G outbreaks. Connectivity versus containment. 3G SARS. Speed versus vulnerability. 4G H1N1 Ebola. Transformation versus emergency. 5G COVID-19. Quote specificity. Use the exact words from local campaigns and the exact words from health briefings the same week. This shows residents how the same rhetorical shapes return every generation under new banners. Risks, obstacles, and how to handle them. Data gaps. Obstacle. Missing activation dates or fragmented hospital data. Response. Use nearest official proxies. Permit approval plus first coverage map change. Label uncertainty and do not infer beyond what's documented. Institutional resistance. Obstacle. Pushback on publishing ledgers or requests for records. Response. Use public records processes and keep a communications log. Publish methodology transparently to preempt dismissal. Media framing. Obstacle. Narratives that dismiss simultaneity as coincidence without review. Response. Invite replication. Show how others can test your ledger with their own data. The artifact's strength is repeatability. Conflation risks. Obstacle. Readers assuming causation where none is claimed. Response. Place a clear line at the top of each ledger. This artifact documents simultaneity, not causation. This protects the integrity of the work and keeps the fire inside the guardrails of fact. Why the generational overlay matters for sovereignty. Pattern recognition. When populations see liberation, clarity, connectivity, speed, transformation, repeatedly bundled with crisis, they understand choreography, not chaos. Consent mechanics. Once tempo optics are visible, consent cannot be silently manufactured through synchronized urgency. Policy leverage. Ledgers that document exceptions, expedited permits, emergency procurement, consolidated approvals, become the basis for challenging permanence of temporary rules. Community authority. Local veto points gain legitimacy when backed by dated, sourced, replicable artifacts rather than speculation or rumor. The overlay is not a theory. It is a training tool to recover agency. Extended example scaffold. Use and adapt locally. City. Name period. Month. Year infrastructure beats. Date. Mast activation. Address coordinates. Source. Council permit ref. Operator press release. Coverage map screenshot. Crisis beats. Date. Hospital occupancy hits X%. Funerals restricted to Y attendees. Nightly news headline. Z. Source. Health Authority Bulletin. Government order. Media clip archive. Sales frame versus crisis frame. Sales wording. Future-proof network. Resilience. Don't fall behind. Crisis wording. Emergency measures extended. Protect the vulnerable. Stay home. Save lives. Ledger entry, 1 line. Example, 2020-11-10 to 5G node lit in Central District. Hospital occupancy 91%. Funerals capped at 30. Headlines emphasize winter surge. Operator campaign, connectivity you can rely on. Council doc, expedited siting under emergency review. Populate this for every visible deployment period. The sequence will teach by itself. The blast, name it, verify it, replicate it from 1G through 5G. The sales promises evolved freedom, clarity, connectivity, speed, transformation. While health crisis punctuated the same calendar's HIV, AIDS, tuberculosis, and influenza waves, SARS, H1N1, Ebola, COVID-19. The public does not live these as separate lines. They live them as one fused tempo. Emergency escalates, transformation escalates. Process compresses, optics saturate. Simultaneity changes perception. Perception changes consent. Consent changes the speed at which infrastructure becomes permanent. Citizen audit is the counter-tempo. It breaks bundling by forcing facts into daylight. Dates, quotes, thresholds, and local context in one ledger that anyone can check and copy. It refuses overreach while refusing fog. It names the pattern crisis and modernization rolled out together and replaces insinuation with sequence. It turns the rhetoric of inevitability into a question the public can answer. When did this happen? Under what language? And with what conditions? Build the ledgers. Publish the artifacts. Train others to replicate. Demand that infrastructure timelines undergo full public deliberation outside emergency cycles. Separate health communication from transformation PR. Restore local veto points with binding authority over placement, timing, and conditions. Require explicit trade-offs costs, density, environmental, and social impact on the record. When calendars are uncoupled, scrutiny returns. When optics are parsed, consent becomes conscious. You asked for precision and fire. Here they converge. Discipline in data, aggression in clarity, no claims beyond what's documented, and no retreat from naming the choreography. Crisis is real. Modernization is real. The bundling of both into one tempo is also real. Once citizens expose that bundling, speed must earn legitimacy in daylight. This is time to wake TF up with a sovereign signal. Wake TF up. Sovereign signal is the channel. Help spread the word. Give us a like, subscribe, and share. If you valued the truth in this video, press the notifications bell so you never miss another fact-filled broadcast. Together, we keep the ledger pure. And together, we break the theater of control.